We're ready. We're in. This is exciting. Part 2 is always fun. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I think about my life like TV series, like different seasons or like movies. So I always love when there's a part 2 or it's like, what happened next? You know, and not that the signs didn't run off and become something else while we were gone for 4 days, but still, I think it's just so fun to see like a part 2. So this is really cool. So welcome everybody back to another Eat and Greet and a part 2 of an Eat and Greet, as I was saying. So this is very exciting. We're welcoming back Linda Berry, and we are going to go through the rest of the signs and how we see that vibration and explain it. But we're going to do from Libra until Pisces, thus the part 2. So if you are, if you are an Aries or you're a Gemini or you're someone like that, you want to go check out part 1, and you can find it in the Eat and Greet playlist as well. But if you are Libra through Pisces, today is your day, and we are going to talk about all that. So before we jump in and welcome Linda back officially, a little bit of housekeeping. The solstice gifts, the last couple appointments are available. So you can click in the description box down below and check those out, get signed up for them. They're going to be later in the year, so pushing towards September. But if you're looking for a spot, you can definitely grab those. And the Eat and Greets, we've got one more for this week, which will be happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And we'll have Bear River over. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about astrology education, certification, different associations. So if you're looking to extend out a little bit more, or you're wanting to have a little bit more of a tribe and a community, we're going to tell you the pathways to be able to do that. And it gets you connected with beautiful, beautiful astrologers. In making some of those connections is how I got led to David and how I got led to Linda. So the connections are abundant, especially when you start to associate up. So we'll have all of that going on tomorrow morning. All right. Miss Linda, welcome back.
Well, I'm so delighted to be here again.
Yeah, well, we got it. We can't just leave 6 out and say, just figure it
out.
Libras, figure it out. So we're going to jump back in here today. And again, if you're watching this for the first time and you're coming from traditional astrology and we move into vibrational astrology, there's a lot of like unlearning the traditional archetypes. They're good guides, but there's a vibration, there's a hum that comes with the root core of what the sign is trying to do and produce within us and asking us to do. And that's where Miss Linda is going to take us through, and we're going to meet the root vibration, what each of these signs is asking from us. So I'm ready when you are. I'm probably more than ready. We're out there and I was like, Linda, you ready? Let's go in. I've had a green tea. Let's do it.
You couldn't wait, could you, Stormie?
I know. I was like, we got 6 minutes, but let's just go now. So I am more than ready when you are. And I think I gave you screen.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
And
lovely Libras, we're starting with you.
Give me just 1 second here.
No
I
worries.
had weird aspects in there, and I want to get the normal one so people will see something that they'll understand a little bit.
Or so that they don't just go cross-eyed. I do that with people sometimes. I'm used to looking at everything in the middle and I'm like, uh-oh, I think they're paralyzed. Let me adjust those aspects. It's a real trip.
Okay. Well, we've gone through the more personal half of the zodiac, the things that are part of, in a sense, the individual development. And now we're going to go into the complementary signs to the ones that we went through, Aries through Virgo. We're going to go on Libra through Pisces, and there is more of a relationship quality to these signs. In Leo, for example, you're just becoming, well, not just, I mean, it's amazing, but you're becoming this magical, real person, this individual. Well, in Aquarius, you're relating to other people. So that's, and so on. So the next sign we're going to talk about is Libra. And Libra is more than just, oh, this is my sweetie, and interacting with them. Libra is about building partnerships. And one of the things about Libra, Libra is a cardinal sign, and it actively seeks out partnerships and friendships when it's healthy. It doesn't just sit around and wait for them to get dropped in its lap. So,
yeah,
Libra understands the fund. Now, Libra is a lot like what you're used to. There is a little different emphasis, but it's a lot like what you're used to. And Libra understands the fundamental fact that there is an external world out there, and that world's full of people. And
the people.
Yeah, and we need to connect with them. So this is Libra's thing, to connect with other people. For a Libran, life is incomplete and something essential is missing without partnerships. So this drive to connect is very, very important to them. Now, for Libra, you can get an analogy from chemistry. You take hydrogen and oxygen, and they come together and they form water. And it takes these two things that are operating, and then they form this other thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. For Libra, each person retains their individual identity. Both contribute equally to the partnership. And yet at the same time, they're combining things into a new combination. They retain individual characteristics, but they also create something new.
Yeah, that space where Libra in its highest form realizes it can actually only go so far on its own.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And one of the things that's very important for Libra is the person they are in a partnership with contribute equally. And you see, Libra has different strategies. Sometimes they'll get upset with somebody that's not contributing equally, and they may fuss at them, or they may bitch, or they may whatever. But sometimes they'll just sit around and not give an answer because they want the other person to contribute equally, and they don't want to have to tell them. Yeah. They ought to know that.
Yes. Yes.
That's what a partnership's about, isn't it? Right? Well, for Libra, that's what a partnership is about.
Yes, the passive aggressive can be real here.
Right. And so Libra gets this reputation for being kind of wishy-washy because they don't always want to do it all. They want the other person to make an equal number of decisions. And if they jump in and make all the decisions, then they don't leave any room for the other person.
Yeah, and at a fundamental level, that genuinely feels out of balance. It feels like this is the incorrect thing to be doing, to have all of the power, to have it not be in a state of equilibrium.
Yep. That works real well with two adults.
Yes. Yes.
But if you've got an adult and a child, there are places where you can't have a Libra relationship where each has a veto power in the relationship. I mean, if my 3-year-old wants to go out without anything on, I have to veto that.
Yes.
Even if I don't think there's anything wrong with it, the society does, so I can't let them go out that way.
Sure. Yeah.
So basically, Libra's approach to life. Oh, one interesting thing. there is real good research evidence. Remember, this all comes from researching really strong Libras or really strong Scorpios, really strong ones of whatever sign. And there's good evidence that Libras relate to others as equals. But there is not an indication that they're more likely to be negotiators than anybody else.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because we're taught, in the archetype that these are our great diplomats, our great negotiators. And
not
that
necessarily. That comes more out of the aspects.
Brilliant.
So that goes back to the thing that we found, that the signs are style, a way you operate. They're not what you do.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And it's hard to get used to that, but we really, really found that to be true. So now let's look at some Libras.
Let's see some Libras.
Really strong Libras.
Yeah, we've got a super strong Aries here. What a chart, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now let's see the complete.
Okay. So here's a Libra. Ascendant and 4 planets in Libra, including the ruler of the ascendant. And this is Frank Coppola. And he was a mafia mobster. Mr. Coppola was a powerful mafia mobster who was involved in drug trafficking and other crimes. Coppola is psychologically complex, intelligent, entrepreneurial, a good team player, and mafia members are often deeply attached to family members.
Sure.
But simultaneously indifferent or cruel to others. So his people he had a relationship with, he did this Libra relationship type of thing. But that doesn't mean he's that way with everybody.
Right.
Okay. Now, the thing about Coppola was, as you would think in a classic mob boss, he's not indecisive, passive, or gentle.
Yeah.
And he's one of the strongest Libras.
Yeah, that is phenomenal, because it really does make it so you have to back off of everything that we've just been taught about how these people are going to show up. Because what do you do when that's not what somebody's vibration is telling your intuition when you're going through a chart? How do we explain that? Well, the vibration's actually just telling you the truth. Right? It's brilliant. Yay.
Okay. So now the second person was Marcello Abbado. I don't know if I'm saying all these names right, but he's another Italian, so my Italian isn't that good. He was a composer, conductor, and pianist. He has a particular relationship with Wolfgang Sawallisch and the Vienna Philharmonic, whom he has partnered with in many performances of Mozart's concertos in Vienna. He formed partnerships all over the place.
Wow.
This shows that Libran quality in the way he operated. But you see, you could be somebody who formed partnerships all over the place, and you could be a conductor and composer, or you could be a baseball player. And you could still act in a Libran way.
He's not a divorce attorney.
I don't know. I'm not going to make any statements.
But he could be something else. Just the formation
right
is just going to be what's critical here.
Yeah. So just the fact that the Libra, the emphasis on Libra, means that this person wants to have give and take, equal type of relationships where both people are responsible for the relationship, and that partnerships are important to them. That's what the Libra says.
Awesome.
Okay, so the third one Now, this one's more of a classic Libra, at least in some ways. This is Walter Rathenau. And he's an industrialist, a politician, and a writer. And he was a negotiator. He negotiated the Treaty of Rapallo. And I didn't put down here what that involved. But he never married. He had no children. This is surprising for a Libran, but it does not violate our concept of Libra as being establishing equal partnerships. Because everything else aside, children aren't equal. I mean, you know, on a certain level, they just don't know enough to be equal.
Sure.
So he advocated greater worker participation in the management of companies. His ideas were influential in post-war governments. In other words, he had a Libran approach to the way companies should operate, that the workers should be more involved in the management of the company.
Yeah. That's so, I just think it's so neat because as we vibrate, you know, in whatever we're born with, whatever that prominent vibration is, you're just going to have that natural movement to get things done in that way, even if the rest of the chart speaks to some other tactics that you may use as well, whether it have been writing or the music or the whatever. Each of these people carried that vibration that was like, well, let's go. We can't go any further on our own. Let's go make some partnership. Let's go make things balance. Yeah. Let's go. You know, that's really neat to see.
Let's get somebody else involved, contributing into this along with us.
Yes. Yes, because I can't do it on my own. I mean, how are you going to be a successful on your own mob boss? No, that doesn't happen. You don't have a cartel of one.
That's a pretty small mob.
Yes, it's the smallest mob. Yes. Brilliant.
Okay. All right. So now one comment I want to make about this is all the signs are operating, but the person's life is going to be most marked by the ones that are strong.
Sure.
But this particular, we have energy definitions for the planets also that help us to understand more clearly how the planets interact in aspects and how they interact in the signs.
Sure.
So like Mars is this is a Libra guy, but the Mars here in Scorpio says that he merges into things he's active in, which is what we're going to talk about next. This is Scorpio merger property, merging. But here's the thing, that's not important. The signs, I know we're going through the signs and they're fascinating and they do describe things about the way we interact with the world and things that are very important, but they aren't going to tell us what we're doing in our life.
Right.
We aren't going to tell us our goals and our purposes and our patterns. That's going to come from the vibrations. And just 2 seconds on this. Every planet is related to every other planet. And the vibration between each 2 planets is important. And that vibration operates in a range of harmonics. Up to 360, it can be something like 16 or 18 different harmonics that particular vibration between those 2 planets is operating in. And so in the harmonics, we get all the planets together in the way they're operating in that vibration. And then we get a story about what that vibration is up to in the person's life.
Are you guys getting this? I'm breathing it in as you're saying it, Linda. And I'm like, well, this makes a lot of sense if you just follow the vibe, and then you can see and apply the how to express the vibe, moving away from everything else. Are you guys getting this? Is this kind of sinking through for you? Let me know in the chat section, because I'm digging in.
Okay. And the one thing I want to caution you all about is it's all the natal chart. this, we are not getting away from the natal chart. When I put in, I'm just going to put in a couple here just to show you a couple pictures.
These are cool.
Okay, so when I put in the 5th vibration or the 7th vibration, it's all in the natal chart. You just can't see it there until I concentrated under that vibration.
Right.
So it's all the natal chart. Everything is a natal chart, but these are like magnifying glasses or microscopes that let us get down into what's this part of the pattern operating like, and which parts of the pattern are really, really strong for this person, and things like that.
Ugh. This is so good. They're learning. Ryan is on it. He's like, yes, I'm getting it.
Good, excellent. Okay, so now let's go to Scorpio.
Yes, merging. I love that.
Okay, the Scorpio function is to fuse, to merge, to become totally absorbed in your experiences and your activities.
And excitement.
And so this, what does that mean? That means you're so involved in the experience that you don't hear somebody calling your name. It means you start working on something and all of a sudden it's 6 hours later and you didn't even notice any time passed.
Yeah.
That's the Scorpio tendency to merge into things. Now, here's the thing. That's all we can say for sure that Scorpio does, but it does have side effects. And the side effects are some of the things that Scorpio has a reputation for. It's just that they're not always true. Okay, like take the idea of Scorpio being magnetic and charismatic. Well, that can be true, but it's not always true.
Sure.
All Scorpios are not magnetic and charismatic. All Scorpios merge with the things they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And see that merger the magnetism and the charismatic ability are a result of being so fully involved.
Sure, right. Someone who's really, really focused in something is attractive. Yeah. There's something attractive about it, not necessarily sexually, but energetically. You're like, why are you so focused? That is fascinating.
I mean, you get me talking about vibrational astrology, and I get excited and I start, you see all that stuff. And I am a strong Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is probably my strongest sign. Not quite as strong as these, but I am a strong Scorpio. So.
Sure, but you see how the vibration works where it's like, yeah, they're not even over there trying to be mysterious. Probably the observer has decided there's a great mystery going on, but they're over there being merged with what they're doing. Poor Scorpios.
Yeah, well, and see, here's the thing with Scorpio. They're a bit dysfunctional if they aren't deeply immersed in their activities.
Sure. Surface level ain't going to do it.
And I know when I'm between projects and so on, I have my science fiction fantasy books I read, so I have something I can still get immersed in, because I really feel at loose ends if I'm not involved in something.
Yes, Scorpio energies. Is that you?
Yeah.
That vibe. Yeah. Who do you have? Whose charts do you have? I need to see these immersed people.
Okay, well, let me tell you a little more about it before I get to the charts.
Okay.
When you're totally immersed in something, it changes you.
Yeah.
And thus you have the Scorpio's reputation for transformation. It comes out of being really merged into things. And when you're deeply involved in something, you want to go deeper. You tend to feel it more strongly than other people do. So a lot of the things that Scorpio has a reputation for, including if you're really Scorpio in a relationship, you want to merge with the other person. And that has its pluses and minuses, because when you become a part of another person, that makes you vulnerable. And for some people, that can result in suspiciousness, secretiveness, jealousy. So you see, all those things that Scorpio maybe does, but not necessarily, all come out of the same basic tendency to merge with whatever they're relating to. Okay, so now people.
People. You can tell I have all that Libra. I'm like, where are the people?
Where are the people? There you go.
The people.
Okay, this is the first one. It's Hans Dietrich.
Wow.
And this guy is a biologist. And he studied sea unicorns. And at the 4-cell embryo level, he pulled individual cells. In other words, when the embryo had developed into a 4-cell unit, he took one cell out of it separate, and that one cell became a whole sea urchin. Okay.
I know I'm looking at, I can't get away from that aspect with that Uranian energy though. I'm like, you put that vibration with that over there, we're going to look at some interesting cellular family level things.
Right. And you see, the thing is, by the time an embryo is a 4-cell embryo, each one of those 4 cells has a particular part it's been assigned that it's supposed to do.
Sure.
But when he took one cell out, it didn't become the special part it been assigned to be. Somehow or other, it knew it was separate, and it started the process all over again and built 4 more cells and assigned things to them and went on and became a whole sea urchin.
It just moved on. It was like, okay, I got to move on and become something else, obviously.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Now, what Hans thought was that this indicated some kind of entelechy. That's a mind-like life force of a non-spatial, qualitative, intensive sort, or put into English, a higher level of mind or awareness that redirected the cell when it was separated from the embryo to cause it to know that it needed to operate differently than it planned to operate.
You don't find that out on the surface.
No, but isn't that amazing? His approach to biology was scorpionic.
Yeah.
He doesn't just analyze data in a detached mechanical way. He imagines and engages in these biological processes. He gets merged into it. He works on a very deep level, and he feels it within himself, the mystery of it. Not just working with data at arm's length. You go deep, you can become mystical. Scorpio is intense and transformative because as you fully engage yourself in what you do, you become transformed by it.
Wow. Transformation all the way around. The sea urchin, the unicorns, the man.
Yeah.
All just been transformed. What a chart.
Isn't that amazing chart? So, and look at that Pluto right on the center, gosh.
I know. Well, I'm looking at all of the configurations. I'm like, there is some stuff to talk about here.
Right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets in Scorpio, including the ruler of the ascendant.
Yay. Okay.
Wow.
Who's next?
Okay, so Rosemary DeCamp is next. That might be a name some people know. She was an actress. As you can see here, she has a huge amount of Scorpio. However, and by the way, we did not include the nodes in our evaluation. So the nodes were not added in. I do have them in the chart here, but they were not part of the way we found our Scorpios.
Sure.
So, okay, but her Scorpio isn't as obvious. She shows it in an interesting way. As an actress, she's the quintessential small town American mother, a calming, steadying presence in scores of films in the 40s and 50s. But Here's the Scorpio. She is also a respected copper enamel artist.
Wow.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
This is scorpionic because, you know, pottery and ceramics and those things like this copper and now enameling. First of all, you've got to be fully involved in that when you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to have your mind totally there. But what are you doing? You're fusing two things together. You're merging two things together.
Oh, deeply.
Yeah. So in a sense, you could say that the essence of Scorpio is fusion.
Yeah.
So, and this is an example of where the zodiac sign expresses itself very literally.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So, okay. So now we've got one more.
Somebody's saying it looks like Katy Perry's chart, and she is a quintuple Scorpio. Wow.
Okay, the third one we've got is Salim Sadiri. He's an athlete, he's a long jumper. And again, well, we've got a Scorpio ascendant here, plus 4 personal planets in Scorpio and Uranus. And that includes the ruler of the ascendant, which is also conjunct the ascendant. So, Salim Sadiri, he had a javelin accidentally thrown through his body. Yeah. After rehabilitation, what does he do? He comes back and starts winning.
Yeah. Everybody loves a comeback.
Yeah. This is a very interesting story of rebirth. He rises like the phoenix from the ashes. Sometimes the mythical archetypal themes do appear, and absolutely they do. The thing we're trying to tell you is you can't depend on them. What you can depend on is the energy that's underneath it.
Right.
And that doesn't mean the archetypes don't apply, but you've got quite a range of archetypes to choose from. Mm-hmm. Like Scorpio's it's got a dove, and it's got a scorpion, and it's got an eagle, and it's got a phoenix. And I think there might be another one too. I can't think of right this minute off the top of my head. But so it's got all these things. Well, the person isn't all of them. Probably.
Yeah. Well, you could be there all day sorting through.
Exactly.
You know, who's what, as opposed to it is neat to see again, like how the vibration just kind of cuts through the theme where it's like, well, hold on, let's just go here. What is, where are they going to fuse? What's that? Let's focus there. Then we can see how they'll do it. Neat.
Yeah. So, and in Salim's case, concentration and determination, you see the kind of concentration and determination that accompanies full immersion. Mm-hmm. So now what we know is that the images we have of the zodiac signs, they can be true, but they don't work for Rosemary DeCamp. The process is there, and often you get the typical manifestations of it. With Scorpio, the charisma, the mystery, the intensity, the rising from the ashes. That's why astrologers so often believe in astrology, because it does work often. It's the normal way of approaching astrology. It does work a lot of times, but there are exceptions. Mm-hmm. And we have to explain them if we want to really understand the signs. You can't say, well, these 5 Scorpios are Scorpio and this other Scorpio isn't. Never mind, they have just as many planets in Scorpio. No, they're not Scorpio because they don't act the way I think Scorpio acts.
Right. So you have to widen that perspective then and change the thinking. We were talking about that in part 1.
And the thing is that when we think of the signs as processes, as energy processes, then we can understand what's going on under the surface. Yes. So now let me, where is she? Here you go. Okay, I'll bring up the first Sagittarius so you can be looking at a Sagittarius chart while I talk about it.
Saggies, where are you guys at out there? They're about to show up. I love it.
Okay, so Sagittarius. The underlying process with Sagittarius is to look off into the distance. And see, look at the contrast. Gemini's curiosity about the things you see right around you. And the opposite sign, Sagittarius, is looking off into the distance. So this is like being farsighted, seeing the larger context and the larger possibilities. And Sagittarius views this as an adventure. Exploring the boundaries beyond where we grew up, operating from a broader perspective and understanding, distrusting specialists with their narrow point of view. There's an emphasis on a philosophical perspective, the framework, the assumptions, the overall perspective, that then, so you form this big picture and then you fit the data in.
Sure, sure.
Now the problem becomes, what if some of the data doesn't fit? What does Sagittarius do with it? And this gets into some of the issues with the sign, because Sagittarius is quite happy to just throw the data away that doesn't fit.
Yes. But that's the other thing, you know, just looking at the chart, just kind of zinging with this Saggy vibration, it's quite happy. It's just quite happy. It's sweet.
Yeah. Particularly this one with Jupiter on the ascendant. Okay. Now, you know, when you go on an adventure, you need to prepare for it. If you don't have the right things with you, you could end up, I mean, adventures are a bit risky. You could end up figuratively out on a limb someplace with no way to recover.
Sure.
So, Sagittarius does understand that you need to prepare, and they will prepare. Now, one of the interesting things about this is that research does not show that Sagittarians have a greater tendency to be jovial.
Look at that. Even I got to shoot that down now. The research does not support.
It doesn't mean that there aren't Sagittarians that are jovial, but it means that people of all signs can be jovial approximately equally.
Right.
So, now, Sagittarians can be blunt and cruel. That's one of the things we've heard about Sagittarius, and it can happen. It doesn't always, but it can. Because for Sagittarians, they're so busy looking at the big picture that personal feelings are just too small and petty for them to pay attention to.
Right. Right. Like, don't give me hints. Right. I don't need hints. Just, are you happy? Are you sad? What do you want?
So, the purpose of Sagittarius is to keep expanding. To keep exploring further, to keep finding new horizons. Here's one of the other things that happens with Sagittarius. Sometimes they get stuck. They think, I've got the answer. And this tends to breed arrogance, overconfidence, and its tendency to lack in compassion and sympathy, and a potential to overlook important details and the personal issues of people. If you get stuck in the idea that you have the answer, rather than that there's always more to learn, and you may have to adjust what you know based on new things you learn. If you get stuck in that, then you really get the bad side of Sagittarius.
Sure. But the vibe itself wants to expand.
Always expand, explore more, collect more truths. You know, years ago, and in this case, this particular picture really kind of portrays it, that Sagittariuses go around with a basket on their arm.
So
and every time they find a truth, they stick it in their basket.
Yeah.
And they keep on doing that. The thing is that Sagittarius has to remember that there are always more truths to find and to combine with what they already have, and that that we cannot have the final answer here on Earth.
Sure. Which is funny because the Sagittarians in the chat are like, I just want the bottom line. And it's like, oh, that is so hard to get in human form.
you want the bottom line, and it's great to reach for it.
Yes.
But it's very critical to remember that there will always be more to it than you know.
Sure. It's whatever's under the bottom.
Yeah. And there are more layers under the bottom. Every layer has another layer under it, and you can continue expanding and growing. And that's wonderful. Sagittarius loves that adventure.
Yeah.
Find more, find more.
Wow.
So Sagittarians. Maria Perego. As you can see, she's a big Sagittarius all over her first house.
Mm-hmm.
And she's an artist. She created a puppet. Her puppet is Topo Gigio.
Okay.
And Topo Gigio overcomes obstacles and makes sacrifices on his way to success. Yeah. This is the story of Sagittarius. We are on an adventure, and there are obstacles and sacrifices, and in the end, it is all worth it for the colorful adventures and the success.
Yep. Brilliant.
So she shares with people that life is an adventure. There will be difficult times, but it's worth it.
Yeah, look at that interaction with that Neptune.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Mercury, we cheers you and all the other Saggies.
Yeah. So we've got a couple more. The next one is Joaquin Torino. Okay. Now, I think this is really interesting chart. We're not going to go into all of this now, but he's got a big Sagittarian section. It is bigger, but he's also got a big Scorpio section. Now, in terms of things we would count, it's only the outer planets. It's a little confusing. I have some of these in. Maybe I should just take them out for now so you can see what we've really operated with. Because these are the things that we actually used to figure out the strength of them. And there you can see, but it still is a strong concentration in Taurus as well as in Sagittarius, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so Joaquin is a composer, and he had a Sagittarian approach to classical composition. He had a lot of variety. He was always exploring or using ideas from other cultures. Yeah. He worked with a large scope, like for orchestras. There was a sense in his work of adventure, drama, victory, or celebration. His works show great variety and show the influence of traditional Andalusian music. His music often conveys a feeling of rapture or exaltation. So you can see the Sagittarius and how the Sagittarius colored what he did, but it didn't make him a composer.
Sure.
That came from the aspects. Okay, the next person is Luciano, Lucky Luciano. He had a big operation, a massive scale approach to crime. He traveled all over the place to hide his movement to Cuba. So now the last one is, I'm just giving you a little flavor of these things, but okay, here he is. Jacob Fick. He was a Nazi lieutenant colonel. And he basically was forming political and philosophical beliefs and implementing them in ways that focused on intellectual beliefs rather than personal compassion. And that's a Sagittarian tendency.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's neat. The vibe just is the same no matter where, just the method is different. Brilliant.
So let me get the first Capricorn up here.
Oh yeah, I would love to. I can't wait to hear about Capricorn.
Okay, Capricorn's a trip.
Yeah, well, and they get a rough name, man. They really
do. Yeah, they do. But Capricorn, we've got Taurus, which expresses a natural order. Organically, biologically, it grows in the natural order. Then we've got Virgo, which sees these universal forms and tries to bring them down and establish them in the natural order, in the earth signs. And then we've got Capricorn, which steps back and observes the natural order. Capricorn reflects on the world, detaches from the world. It operates as a witness to events. This is something that in psychology, they have a name for this, witness consciousness. All right, so Capricorn disengages from being immersed in experiences to watch the experiences, to watch others and themselves. They use, and the next thing is that they use a role to detach from life. Capricorn likes to put on a uniform and become what that uniform represents. Now, notice that in contrast to Cancer, because that's the thing Cancer hates. Mm-hmm. Cancer wants to just be themselves. And what do you mean? You want me to be phony? Well, Capricorn, the role is something they really enjoy, being a role. So what happens when you're detached? You see things as they are. This gives you the ability to develop good strategies and to effectively guide things. And help to tweak the direction they go, which is a nice way to say manipulate. But all manipulation is not bad.
Sure.
The characteristic of Capricorn that is significant is your feelings and desires do not distort your perceptions. That's this witness consciousness. You sit back there and you watch your feelings in front of you, but you know they're one thing in the picture. Mm-hmm. And you see, oh, those are the beliefs I've been using. Well, let's see. How does it really fit with the way things happen? Let me check this out. Does it really work when I apply it? Capricorn. They're not always ambitious. People think of Capricorn as always ambitious. Actually, Capricorn can operate on a very spiritual level that's not necessarily at all ambitious. But they are always detached and objective. Capricorn is inclined to Buddhism. It's inclined to Buddhism, which emphasizes detachment. So now extreme Capricorns do, this is like talking about the patterns of the extremes. They do exhibit an inclination to reflect on things in an objective manner. Then this is what the research shows. To capture what is and to be able to edit, manipulate, strategize, and objectify things that for most people are so near and dear that they are not able to be objective about them.
Sure.
So, and of course, when they get objective about something that somebody else really, really is attached to,
yes,
then sometimes that creates problems.
That's when I think they get that they become known for being cold, and it's like, no, I'm not being cold. I'm just detached enough from what you've got going on to try and help you see the facts and get out of the emotionalism. But what it feels like is you're not relating.
Yeah. And it does feel to people like they're not relating sometimes, and yet they can make very clear decisions. There's a reason that Capricorn is a sign that represents the underlying structure that guides the world. And of course, right now, Pluto's in there, and that's another subject we could talk about, because what that does to Capricorn is everything we're seeing right now. So, okay. Because it blows Capricorn up and gets Capricorn to be overly objective to such an extent that they think they're it. And then you got problems. Okay, now Francesco Alberoni, he was a writer. And he talks about creating a science of love. Sorting it out. Wow. That's Capricorn. See, it's not getting caught up in the feelings. It's detaching and looking at what's really happening.
Yeah. I don't know if you notice this. This is just popping up for me real quick. Over the last ones that we've seen today, where they have these high-pocketed stelliums in whichever sign we're talking about, they all have had a real interesting connection to Neptune as well. And I am having a thought about that now. If that is almost, if Neptune doesn't act as a focuser for that much energy in the vibe, you know what I mean? Like you have this.
Yeah, I do. And it's an interesting thought, but it's not going to be all of them.
Okay. All right. I'll sit in bated anticipation.
Okay. So like, here's this Gemini, and the focus is coming from Jupiter, not Neptune. I just picked one at random. All right.
Sure.
Here is this Virgo, and yeah, it does have Neptune as a focus. Let's see what Clint does.
Look.
He has Neptune as a focus.
Oh man, we've got a topic for you.
But look at the general, George Gordon Caudalet. The thing that, if anything's focusing it, it's Mars. And that's interesting since he became a general. But you see, even though that happened to be there in a bunch of cases, it's not going to hold up if we did research on all the strong ones to see if Neptune was aspecting every one of them. It's not going to hold up.
Sure. You can tell though.
But it's a fascinating observation that somebody caught that. I think I'm impressed. Okay. Now, Rudolph Bing, our second Capricorn. Look at all that Capricorn, including Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn, with a Capricorn ascendant with Saturn in Capricorn. 1902, a previous time when Saturn was in Capricorn. All right.
All the Capricorn.
Okay, this is a Rodin data, but that's not a problem because nothing's that close to the edge of the sign, except maybe the ascendant. Okay, but it's still a lot of Capricorn, even if you throw the ascendant out. So now, How did Rudolph Bing express his Capricorn objectivity? Well, he insisted on facts, clarity, contracts, and his ability to push through problems of personality, bias, and bias was well known. His objectivity gives the ability to command and lead. His interest in management and strategy. All these images of Capricorn are the great business person that Rudolph Bing developed out of this ability to see things as they are and frame them as they are. So this is a classic Capricorn CEO.
He's like, let's just get this all sorted, tidied up.
Okay, but the next one's not classic. Let me find him.
I welcome your non-classic disclosure, other mystery chart.
Yes. Grierson, Herbert Grierson, a poet. Now, this guy really believes in poetry. And it looks like what he's saying as we look at the biography material on him is that poetry is actually capturing reality. This is his view of it. It's capturing our awareness. What is our awareness? Our daily experiences are not simply data. Poetry is a talent for capturing our experiences, for photographing our feelings, our direct contact with life. So poetry, in a way, is the incisive, direct way to get to the heart of the existential reality we live in. How's that for a Capricorn take on poetry?
Yes, that is certainly not maybe the Leo or the Piscean take.
No.
Yeah.
But isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. How are you guys doing out there? Are you loving it? Capricorns, are you feeling out your vibe down there? I see you guys chatting it up. So hopefully you're breathing your vibration in here.
Okay. So is there any questions there at this point before we go on?
No, so far people are loving it and they're loving us talking to each other about this stuff and kind of exploring the questions, which that's what this is about. This is good stuff.
Cool. Okay, Aquarius. Now, hold on to your seats for Aquarius.
Okay, Aquarians, here you go.
Aquarius, when we researched it, did not come out the way a lot of Aquarian people think it is. And if you're attached to the new age pattern of exploration of new things and going out there and being quirky and all of that kind of stuff, you're attached to that about Aquarius. You've got it in your life. It's just in your aspects. It's not from your sign. And all Aquarians are not like that. And that was what we came up against. Okay, so what did we find about Aquarius? What's Aquarius about? Aquarius recognizes that we are social animals with social identities. It is tuned into the relationship of the pattern of our individual lives to the pattern of the collective. Aquarius intuitively recognizes the impact of the group, the flock, the tribe, the network. It tends to see the world through the filter of the social order each of us is a part of. Aquarius does not tell us how the person responds to the tribe. We ask too much of signs. We think they're going to show us the whole picture or paint the major picture of our lives. And that's what we're sharing with you, is they are important, but they are not the storyteller. The aspects are the storyteller.
And I love the way you said it. We ask too much of them. Almost this idea of we go in deciding what that sign is going to do instead of asking it what it's trying to show us.
That's what happens when we research them, is we're asking the signs, what do you have to tell me? What can you show me about life?
Yes.
And each sign has a truth. Each sign has an important truth. And like, Aries, you've got to express your own thing. Taurus, you need to grow like a plant. You need to grow and evolve in the natural order, etc. So now, when an Aquarian steps at all outside of the social pattern and social pressures for conformity, just a little bit, they feel like they're doing a big radical step, because they are extremely sensitive to pressures of the group, the expectations of the group, the structure of the group. And they need to be part of and identified with some group. The group is very important. The thing you think about Aquarians is sometimes their friendships are more important than their partner, than their spouse. And that's because this group is so important to Aquarians. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, they are also concerned about dysfunctionality in groups, and they are very aware of signs of dysfunctionality, like a high crime rate showing that the particular group is in trouble. So they're like a group empath rather than a personal one. They're like a group empath almost. They sense all these flows and pressures in a group. I think it's really pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the issues for Aquarius is they may judge people based on the group the person is a part of.
Sure, because they're just thinking the group.
Right, stereotype. So they do have a tendency sometimes to stereotype, but you can't assume that, but just be aware that it's a possibility. They do try to be authentic within the social network. So they're struggling with this thing of being real, but dealing with all of the pressures and give and take of the group. They feel the power and greater purpose of being part of something much bigger than oneself. That's important to Aquarius. And another interesting thing is they can be a representative of a particular social system or network.
Sure. I can be your group rep.
Yeah. So,
Jennifer,
who are the people that are Aquarians? Any questions about that before we go on?
we don't have a question about that, but we have a question about, and we can come back to it, I think, about some of how the pyramid aspects impact the vibrational astrology. So we can come back to that.
Okay, let's deal with that afterwards, because it's going to sidetrack us right now.
Oh yeah, we'll be on our next show already with that.
Yeah, well, I'll come back if you want.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Jennifer Jason Leigh is an actress. And she, as you can see here, she has Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, all 7 of the classical planets in Aquarius.
Wow. She is doing an Aquarian lifetime for sure.
There were 2 days, February 4th and 5th of 1962, when all of the personal planets were in Aquarius, including the moon. See, that was the part where the moon went through Aquarius, as well as all the rest of them being there. I believe it was commented on at the time, and as some kind of, oh, this is when the age of Aquarius is starting or something. But anyway.
We're still trying to agree on that. So
yeah. But here's what she did as an actress. When you have actresses, it's very interesting. When you actresses or actors or authors, and we're doing this research, they can have really, really difficult aspect patterns in their chart. I mean, something that it's hard that you have to really work at, not to be psychotic or, you know, something really, really difficult. And oftentimes with an actor or an actress or an author, they'll write books about it, or they will play that part in movies. They will be known for that character, where they do this really, like the Joker in Batman, you know, where they play these really bizarre roles, and it's actually strong in their chart.
Sure.
But instead of going and being the Joker as an illustration or the mobster, they play it in movies, and they deal with that energy by acting it out, and they can still have a normal life.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense, because I mean, if you guys don't know her and you don't know her work, look her up. She plays a really, really excellent psycho.
Yeah.
Right? Oh
yeah.
my God. What is that movie? It's the chick and they live in the apartment. Oh, it's just out of my mind. And they find her in the newspaper ad. Anyways, I'll have to think about that. But she plays that part, and that movie just blew my mind. I was like, this lady is a psycho. So you'll have a single white female.
So here's what she did. Her general overview is she played characters from society's bottom rung, often prostitutes or junkies. She played the same group of people over and over, the ones at the bottom. She brings attention to this group of people. This is very Aquarian. How the individual life becomes framed by the social context. Yeah. Concerned with the Aquarius is concerned with the theme of being taken over, of having to compromise to fit into the group. And these are major themes of her entire life.
Yeah.
So this whole thing, like we said, it's the relationship between the group or the network and the individual. It doesn't say how they relate to it. It doesn't say whether they do a good job or a bad job. So that's Jennifer Jason Lee.
And this is fun because in the comments, people are acknowledging this too, that in these roles, she just did them well, whether it's like this kind of psychotic side or the side that's really very vulnerable. And
Right.
Yay. Good job.
Now, the next one is really fun too. It's Clint Black, which some people may know anyway. Those that follow country and Western music are going to know Clint Black. Well, this is an excellent example. Clint Black is almost all Aquarian. See that chart?
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if I would have guessed that about him.
You wouldn't have, because he's not New Age.
Oh, sure.
He's not all the things we tend to think Aquarius is.
Yeah.
But here's what he is. Let's talk about him, and then an additional observation I learned that's beyond these notes.
Okay.
First of all, he was not brought up in the country Western lifestyle. He had choices. He found his tribe, the country Western music community, and he became a symbol, a spokesperson. He merged his identity into that larger identity of country and Western music. This was his group. People who are representatives, whose life is a living out of a particular cultural or ethnic style. This is very Aquarian.
The group, yeah.
Okay, he finds his tribe. He's not eclectic about it. He's immersed in that group. Now, one thing Aquarians can do is embrace the Republic views, like a deeper identification with American values. America can become your group. Okay. The thing is that there's a need to feel a part of and identified with some group of people. This is a really powerful motivation for Aquarius. They want to feel a part of something. Once they find that, it feels right to them, and they can express themselves and put their own individual heart into it, and they're happy.
Yeah.
Now, here's the additional thing I learned when I was doing some additional reading on the biographies, on Clint Black's biography. There's this way that he is an anomaly in country and Western music. Well, there's several ways, but one of them is that he has the same band he started with.
Oh yeah, it's the tribe. We're never leaving.
This became his group within country and Western music, and they really have a tribe. I mean, they get together and celebrate everybody's birthdays and weddings and everything. This group that's Clint Black's personal tribe.
That's beautiful.
And that's an illustration of his Aquarian energy.
That's beautiful. Wow.
So, but the thing he's not way out there new agey. He's not into crystals. He doesn't channel, well, unless that's what he's doing in his music. But you know, what he did do is he found his group, and then he became individual within it. Clint Black absolutely refused to record any music that he and his partner had not written.
Yeah,
I mean, here's
something good. Why change it up? I found my tribe.
Well, but he was under a lot of pressure from his producers to cover songs from other writers and so on, and he refused. They only did their stuff. So you can see the extreme group and tribe pattern, and then I'm going to do this, then the individual type thing kind of underneath it, kind of coming from Leo.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the third one, another actor.
Let's see. I'm ready.
Matt Dillon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Matt Dillon, he played the same role repeatedly of how people in a certain group don't completely fit in and aren't completely comfortable within the overall culture. Okay, group dynamics. It just really gets into that. How people fit into the dynamics, how some classes of people often get ignored, become dysfunctional, and in some way rally around together in response to the larger collective. These are very strong Aquarian themes. Aquarius wants the whole culture, the group, to work well. It doesn't like dysfunctional parts of it. Racism is one possible expression of a person's awareness of cultural collectives, the tendency to judge people by the social group they belong to, rather than finding out who that person really is. So Aquarians are aware of, so that's the flip side of it. The one side is they're concerned about everybody. The flip side of it is that they get into the stereotyping stuff. Aquarians are aware of how culture affects our lives, and they respond to this fact in different ways, sometimes negative, destructive, and limiting, sometimes positive, healthy, constructive, and embracing diversity. You just can't make an assumption they're going to be one place or another. You have to find out what that individual's about.
Yeah.
The ways people respond to the existential fact that we are social animals and part of our individual identity is created by the social network we are a part of. That's the Aquarian truth. That's the Aquarian awareness. Now, does anybody want to tar and feather me and send me
No, so far I think we're so good. And people are talking about in the Aquarian energies how they've never felt more depressed than when they are disconnected from that group purpose.
Yeah, that's the Aquarian. They really needs a group. And you know, the interesting thing I find about this definition of Aquarius, it holds a whole lot of resonance to me with the idea of Saturn ruling Aquarius, which is what the traditional astrology says.
Sure.
As adverse to Aquarius. One of the things we did with the signs is we assigned these outer planet rulers, and then we took the characteristics we thought those outer planets had, and then we assigned them to the signs. And that you have to go the other way around. You have to look at what people are doing in the signs and what the characteristics of the signs are, and then see how that might relate to planetary energies. But you can't start from, oh, this planet is the ruler of this sign, and therefore this sign's like this planet.
Sure.
So, okay. So now we got Pisces.
I know the Pisces people are just probably about ready to explode. It's literally been like 5 days.
Yeah, to get there. Okay, here's a big Pisces. So now, Pisces, the basic process of Pisces is to be eclectic. That, what I mean by that is to integrate seemingly contradictory, incompatible, and unrelated things into a whole, seeing the connections between them. That's Pisces' gift. And when you think about the standard idea that Pisces represents the universal sea of things, and so on, that's the modern idea, is that Pisces is this ocean and everything's kind of dissolved in the ocean. Well, this kind of fits that. Yeah. Because what they're doing is just seeing how things connect to each other, things that you wouldn't think connected to each other. So they will incorporate different cultural and ethnic styles rather than following one clear tradition. But now here's the thing, this isn't a logical process.
Right.
It's a natural, intuitive process. They just feel it. Rather, it's not based on a clear analysis and a decision. It's this other level that kind of just feels it.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking about that that beautiful cook in the kitchen who's like, I don't know, I just feel like it needs a little bit more of this. It's like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, they are not necessarily artistic or scientific. They can be both. But their approach to science is very sensitive. Their approach to art is from multiple perspectives. Science, art, and religion for a Pisces tend to flow into one another rather than remaining separate topics. That whole connecting things that maybe don't seem like they're same together. Pisces just does not play the one of these things is not like the others. Pisces plays how are all of these things like each other?
Yeah. How do
Now,
these go together?
Pisces can be logical and analytical. It's
Ooh,
not necessarily just mystical and fuzzy.
yeah, we are not taught that, are we, in the traditional archetype?
It builds its sense of reality in an eclectic manner, sometimes holding together seemingly contradictory or opposing views in a tenacious and fluid rather than rigid system.
So the fluidity of this vibration is consistent no matter where we're learning it, but you know how concrete and how logical this energy is too, that can show up quite differently.
How logical and analytical somebody is in the aspects, not the signs.
Not the signs.
Okay. Now, Pisces can be soft and accommodating, but it can also be persistent and determined and clear as it strives to explore, understand, and hold together the different things it discovers in some reasonable relationship. Pisces feels that one's life cannot be fragmented and that no part of you can be ignored. Sometimes, now, one of the issues for Pisces is sometimes these connections can get rather flappy and loose, and the Pisces can tend to wander a lot. They can sometimes be hypocritical because they don't stay connected in with everything and that kind of thing. So, sure. But that's a basic characteristic of Pisces, is to connect things that nobody else knows that they're connected. So, yeah, people, Honoré Daumier is the first one. And this was the strongest one. And as you can see, lots of Pisces there. He's a printmaker, caricaturist, painter, and sculptor. He combined art and social critiques. And he worked with different media effectively. And he blended the insights from his different experiences into his different creative works. So you see, he did this Pisces thing of connecting strange things together.
Sure, just blend it together in here. We'll make it.
Yeah. His passion to express himself, he sought to express himself with technical expertise, with great creativity, and with a social conscience. This shows his Pisces inclination to fuse different inspirations and concepts in his work. He did not follow a simple path and lineage. He was eclectic and he was also determined.
Wow. But it's still the melding. The melding was happening over there in France.
Yeah. Okay, so the next Pisces is John E. Boswell. And he is a historian of religion. He worked with history, religion, and homosexuality.
Wow.
How's that for
blending? How is that for blending, huh?
Yeah. His studies focused on the issue of Christianity and homosexuality, which are two things that most people don't think are related. He spoke 17 languages. So don't think Pisces can't be really intelligent.
Yeah, we have someone down in the comments too who said she's learned to speak multiple languages, but that makes sense. I have to meld. I have to meld these things.
Yeah, see, and that he's speaking all those languages enabled him to be cross-cultural.
Sure.
And he worked on finding a historic basis for homosexuality within Christianity. He built a connection where most people do not see one. And one of the things that David has commented on is that the modern idea of Neptune ruling Pisces may well distort the meaning of Pisces by putting so much emphasis on the Neptunian qualities of being spacey and relaxed and out there and so on. Perhaps those qualities are not as strong in Pisces as we have believed.
Sure. Well, especially if the research doesn't super support that.
The research doesn't show it.
Yeah.
So, and now the last Pisces that we're going to talk about.
Okay. Well, you're getting comments down here that says Miss Linda is the best. So.
Oh, well, I think you all are pretty special too. I love sharing this with you. Okay, so we've got here he is. Dionigi Tetamanzi, another Italian. Okay, he was a cardinal in the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh. What?
And he has made positive statements about immigrants and about the rights of Muslims. Talk about connecting things together that normally aren't connected together. He speaks for cultural diversity. He brings together seemingly different ideas like free enterprise and public welfare. And what you need to realize is that Pisces will pursue areas without denying the alternative. The two fish exploring the ocean of life. Pisces is not an either or sign. It's a both and sign. That's the way they tend to think about things.
Yeah.
So now I know we had at least one question there. What else have we got, Stormie?
Yeah, so we have the question about the pyramid aspect. And let me see, I know we had another one. Let me find it real quick. I think the question is something about the growth of signs. And you guys put your questions down here too, in case I missed it or I can't find it quickly enough. And we'll definitely try to get it answered.
I don't understand what the person means by pyramid. I can think of several things that might mean. And so I need a little more information about that question.
Yes, I'm going back up to see, but if you are out there, feel free to just put your question in the chat again so that we can.
Yeah, please do put a little more detail in.
Oh, here's this one while we wait. It says, Ryan is asking, what are the keywords for the 11th house real quick? Oh, that's more of a housing question, but that's okay.
For the 11th house ruler?
Or Ryan, are you just asking about the 11th house in general? Like the groupings? Yeah, groups. Okay, somebody answered it already. Okay, Florence, what are you asking about the pyramids? Ask me your question again so we can put it up here. Yeah, this is so interesting. Like, I love what people, like what jogs their mind or what questions, as they're sitting there. It's like, what is this? What is this about? Okay, so Claire has asked whether we think the signs get progressively more complicated from Aries to Pisces.
I think they do in some ways. One of the things I wanted to give you all was kind of a short statement. Aries goes out and does its own thing. Taurus grows like a plant in a natural way. Gemini is curious. That's it. They're taking their world around and going, oh, what's this? What's this? And, you know, and all of that. And remember, they can be curious about one thing and go through layer after layer, as well as curious about a lot of things. So they're not necessarily the trivia queens. Now, Cancer wants to be natural and wants a safe space they can be natural in. The family, the home. Leo wants to develop as is in the process of working on developing as an individual, the process that we also call individuation. Virgo brings universal patterns into the natural order and sets them up here. Libra is working on relating as equals. Scorpio merges with whatever they get involved in. Sagittarius looks into the far distance. Capricorn steps back and observes it all and acts based on that observation process. Aquarius networks everything, becomes part of a group, networks things. And Pisces links apparently unconnected things together, working toward getting beyond fragmentation. You know, they want to be whole. Right. And so within themselves and in their interaction with the world, they link things together. So when you have the first half, it's really about the things you're doing. The second half is about how you're relating to something else. And so there is some more complexity in the second half because you've got the other there as well as yourself. And that other might be a whole big group, or it might be the whole world. So yeah, I think there is some greater level of complexity in the second part, but all of these are critical aspects of who and what we are.
Sure. Okay, we've got another question. It says, does Linda think that Jupiter is really Pisces' true ruler, or is there an alternate ruler that we just haven't found yet? That's a good vibrational question, I think.
Well, we haven't got rulers straight yet in terms of being able to research them and get answers. So the whole thing about rulers is that how similar these things are in some way. And you see, what you have to get into here is, what do we know about the planets? And we know that each planet is a very simple process. And that Jupiter energetically, you get a lot of things out of this on an archetypal level, but energetically, Jupiter just wants to grow big. It wants to expand. It wants to grow. It wants to be bigger. And that's all there is at core to Jupiter.
Sure.
And so Pisces is trying to connect things together, and in that sense to include more. So in a sense, it's growing bigger. So you can see a relationship between Jupiter and Pisces. But as far as it being a ruler, like I said, we are working on some very complex things connected with rulership and the way the quincunx may play into the process. And it's kind of mind-boggling. And we don't have it in good enough shape for me to explain it yet. We're working on rulers, but we have not been able to pin down a set of principles well enough for rulers to do research on them yet. And we're not going to use them in vibrational astrology till we understand how they work. Now, here's an illustration of this. Until we have a conference. We have a vibrational astrology conference in March of each year in Gainesville, Florida. And people, this next year, we had to do it online this last March because of COVID.
Sure.
And so now it looks like it's probably going to be both an online and an in-person experience. But our conference is different than most astrology gatherings. Our conference is more like a scientific conference, because what we are doing is we are presenting the new things we've learned in the last year about vibrational astrology.
Sure.
And this last year, one of the reports actually was from, one of the talks was from Clarissa Dolphin, and she and David and I were involved with her in it, but she researched the quincunx. And up until that point, we were not reading quincunxes. And what we found from the research was that a quincunx operates like a doorway that you can step through, like a growth process. It's something that seems to need to grow in your life, and that initially you don't have there, but you have a strong need to develop it.
Sure.
So it's like a new kind of aspect. It's an aspect that represents growth rather than aspect. The soft aspects, they flow and that kind of thing. The hard aspects, they go out there and they do something. Well, this is a different kind of an aspect. And it does relate to the modern meeting, because they always said that quincunxes were about adjustment and things like that. And yes, you do have to adjust as you grow. But see, we got deeper into it.
Yeah.
We got a deeper understanding of what the quincunx is actually doing. And now we can use it in vibrational astrology.
Yeah.
So I kind of wandered around a little bit from rulers, but maybe that gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here.
Sure. And that there's still so much that is in the discovery in this particular branch and practice of astrology. And that's the thing I think I'd really like to highlight, is that if you feel called to this, you have that researcher nature, or if you just feel called this way, you may become a vibrational astrology researcher, whatever it is, any of the different branches that can happen with, but this is still in so much development.
I have a list a mile long of things I need to research. And I keep doing as much of it as I can and discovering more things. And some of the things that I have discovered are just, they blow me away. They really do. I found a whole set of patterns of the midpoints have much more relationship to each other than anybody ever realized. And they form in a few vibrations, large structures that are extremely influential in the person's lives. I mean, big structures. And that's one of the things I've discovered and proved in the last year. There's no question about this. This does happen.
It's in the proof, right? And I think that's the part about this that I love as well.
Yeah.
Because it's evidence-based. So as you guys come together in conference, it's like, no, this is what we really learned. But
I will have to tell you that you can't really research vibrational astrology without learning it.
Sure.
And it does take some work to learn it and to get to understand how it operates.
Sure. And you teach it. So if someone wants to take a class with you, how do they, when is your next opening? When do you come back to the table and take new kids?
Well, if I have enough people who want to do it, and if we can agree on a time, I would be willing to start a class in September to begin teaching vibrational astrology. And I'm doing that specifically because of talking to you all. So it depends on whether enough people want to do it. My normal time frame would be I would start a new set of classes next May. And I set up the classes like 3 12-week classes over the course of a year. And a year of it gets you through understanding how the natal chart and the vibrations work.
Sure.
Essentially on just a real fundamental level.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think even too, like I don't know, but in normal or more traditional astrology, like your first year really is getting a deep breath. You're getting in the pool. So that's brilliant. Yes, we've got people who are like me. So I will make sure
All right. Well, what they need to do is they need to go to my website, which you've got listed there, and send me a message. Send me that. I know it must be easy to do because I get them all the time. But anybody who wants to go ahead and get involved in vibrational astrology and have an introductory class learning some of the basics about it, then I like I said, if I get enough people, I'll start one shortly.
Brilliant.
And the big thing about it is that I'm currently teaching 4 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Tuesday afternoon. So it's going to have to be, another class is going to have to be either an afternoon class or a weekend class. I don't have any choice because I don't have any other time.
Turns out you just only have so much time.
Yeah, there are only so many hours in the day. And I would love to share this with some of you. That would be so awesome.
Yay. Oh, good. Well, you've got some people asking about it. And if you're new, you want to get started in this feels like what you're called to. If Linda feels like your teacher, I will make sure you have everything you need to find her and connect. And hopefully y'all are jumping off into a class in September. And if it's not until May, then we'll see you guys in May.
If I get a reasonable number of people, I'll start a class in September. Like I said, provided we can find a time that works for people.
Sure.
So,
well, man, oh man, Linda, thanks for coming back like twice.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I appreciate you being here, you guys. Hopefully, we have given you something to think about, something to take into your practice, even if vibrational is not your branch. Maybe we gave you something to kind of tweak the way you think about what you're doing and put some depth into that. So I'll make sure you have everything you need for Miss Linda. And Miss Linda, thank you again for coming over. All right, you guys, we will see you in the next Eat and Greet, which will be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.